Welcome, one and all, on this Father's Day, Juneteenth edition of the Defo with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Big thank you to Water Cleanup of Florida. It's been humid. Humidity down here is not always great for our homes. But what is great for our homes is Water Cleanup of Florida, because with over 60 years of experience, with all their people there, with their licensed contractors, and the ability to reach out to them, get in touch with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they will make anything when it's water, fire, flood, mold that happens to your home. They will eradicate it nice and easy, make your life nice and easy, make it simple, which is what I know I'm looking for, and I presume, it may not be, maybe you want it difficult, but I presume most people want things done as easily as possible, as efficient as possible. Water Cleanup of Florida, they are your people to make that happen. Just give them a call, 954-579-0356, 954-579-0356, or visit the website, WCUFL.com, WCUFL.com. If you mention Lubie, 5 Reasons, Lubie, either one or both, you'll receive a free inspection during business hours. Check out the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. It's been low-key down here in South Florida. Heater done. Panthers done. Marlins are the Marlins. The Dolphins, though, have been an interesting part because there's a lot of excitement. For the first time in a little bit, I'm sure, look, every NFL fan base gets excited before the season. Everyone's 0-0. But the Dolphins have sort of been on the, we're trying to tank, we're trying to recover, we don't know what we are. The last few years, I mean, it's been mediocrity to, they had a decent record the last 2 years, but you really didn't know. They were a playoff contender-ish, but no one really considered them a contender. Well, they went big this offseason. Chris Greer, quite a lot of critics, like myself, going and bringing in a Tyreek Hill, bringing in Terron Armstead, bringing in Williams as a guard, bringing in Cedric Wilson Jr., a receiver that the Dallas Cowboys and their fans did not want to see go away, bringing in Edmonds, Mostert, and Michelle as running backs, keeping their defense intact, bringing in a young, creative mind who's had a lot of success as a coach over 15 years and is not even 40 yet in Mike, or if he is, he's early 40s. No, I think he's like late 30s, in Mike McDaniel. So it's been a very exciting offseason. A man who was a part of the great times for Miami Dolphins and is still highly involved with the Miami Dolphins, one and only OJ McDuffie, joined us today to talk about all the excitement surrounding the Dolphins, what it means so far, what it means going forward, and his thoughts as he just sat down with Mike McDaniel about head coach Mike McDaniel right here, the Defo Show with Lubie, on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with OJ McDuffie.
Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, and it's always a pleasure to have this gentleman on the program. I run into him anywhere. Actually, one of my most popular posts in the history of my time on Facebook was a picture I posted of OJ McDuffie, who's about to join us right now, and me at the Fudge Brown birthday party. And like thousands of people, it's gone viral. It's incredible, and for good reason, because he's a good man and a great commentator as well, and was a terrific football player at both Penn State and in the pros with the Miami Dolphins. So the great O.J. McDuffie joins us here on the show. Juice, good to talk to you. It was great seeing you the other day.
Yeah, no doubt, Defo, man. Always fun running into you, my man. Always fun, and no better person on the planet than Fudge Brown. So that was an awesome event.
Oh. What a sweetheart. Yeah. You don't know. I mean, I've had bail bondsmen that didn't come through with bailouts as many times as Fudge Brown has. Radio row credentials for the secret unidentified guest that you're bringing in. I mean,
Yep.
she's great.
True.
She is.
And always running traffic for Danny Boy at those occasions also, which is not an easy thing to do because, Fudge will be walking going, okay, we're coming through. And, everybody's pulling on Danny Boy's clothes. I mean, every radio guy, anybody that ever turned on a microphone say, hey, Dan, yeah, hey, good to see you. And she manages to navigate all of that traffic, too, which is fantastic. But good to have you on the show. It was great seeing you. Yeah. All right. So this is great, OJ, because, we were talking about and hoping to incorporate you on our new channel here to South Florida Live. We love having you on the shows. And I'm thinking, wow, that's great. OJ said he would like to do something with us. And then I'm perusing channels, I guess Saturday morning, and I see, wow, hey, look at this. OJ McDuffie on TV. And what are you doing? You're interviewing Mike McDaniel, the new Dolphin coach, on CBS with a podcast that you and Seth Levitt started. And what is this, like nationwide? It's incredible. I mean, I was really, really overwhelmingly impressed.
No, I think it was just local so far, man, and we enjoy it because, being local means we can be as biased as we want towards our Miami Dolphins, as you know, me and my homer ways, so it's awesome, man. Being part of the Miami Dolphins and their podcast network, they give us the opportunities on WFOR Channel 4, man. It's great, so any podcast, for most of the podcasts we do, they'll turn into a little 30-minute show on WFOR, and what an honor and a pleasure it was to have Coach McDaniel on, man. It was so much fun. We read some clips and seen some pressers and stuff like that, but actually having him in person and talking to the person, man, just put me over the top with him.
Well, it was great, and I was wondering because, I studied, to get through school, I had to take what was called, at the time, crap courses. So I studied a lot of philosophy and stuff. And, naturally, the hippy-dippy movement led you in that kind of thinking and existential direction there. But did you need an interpreter to figure out what he was saying? Because it wasn't like you were listening to Dan Campbell or somebody.
Dan Campbell, yeah.
Well, he is a Yale grad, so you just have to sit there and pay attention. One thing we got to do when it comes to Mike McDaniel is pay attention because every word is intentionally intentional. He carefully words everything he says, and if some things might have got over my head. I went to a good school in Penn State, but we didn't have Yale type finals at times. So, but yeah, man, it really is. Just very interesting, man. And what I loved about him most is he's not afraid of being himself, not afraid of, showing his intellect, and I think he just shows with every player. The players say as well. They talk about and they rave about how smart he is, but they also rave about how cool he is. So it's a good combination of both, of the two.
OJ, what's interesting is in this era of football, we have outside of Detroit has a weird thing with Dan Campbell, who coaches like it's the 1960s. A lot of the other coaches are young, creative minds. They came from, whether it's Shanahan or McVay, they all seem to come from that very similar tree. Younger guys, creative, more player friendly. But I haven't heard of any of them being described the way that Mike McDaniel's described. Like the dude feels like you're seeing him at the party with the players and he's hanging out with them. But then he's also this erudite guy. Like a lot of people, when it comes to football, want that hard, tough coach. And we know Shula was that. But again, this is a different era. What are your thoughts when you sat down with him? Not only, okay, he was everything we thought he was. How do you think it'll translate on the field? Do you think it will be successful on the field?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think, these millennial kids that he's coaching these days, man, it might be the new answer.
Okay.
Who knew? Who knows? I think for us, we only knew one way. Our coaches only knew one way.
Yeah.
It's yell, yell, yell. I was talking to Joe Rhodes about that. All we knew was yell. And that's, and that's great for some guys. But obviously, that some guys don't get motivated by yelling at them.
Yep.
Maybe back in the day they did. I think that what Mike McDaniel understands that every single player is individual. So it's going to take something different to motivate each one of them. So, he makes a concerted effort to get to know them. And he knows what buttons to push and what buttons not to push, But honestly, I think, if this works, which I'm pretty sure it will, this is the way a lot of coaches are going to go. You have to adapt, like anything else, especially in football or any sport, you have to adapt. So I think he's done a great job of being himself, but it's also an adaptation of how players are to this day, and it's working. Kids, they love music. They love an upbeat atmosphere, but they go out there and they put the work in. As long as they're putting the work in, that's all that matters.
It's funny. You see it more in women's sports on a college level, Juice, where I'm always impressed. You see these girls and they're playing softball at a very high level. And, girl makes an error and they don't hang their heads in disgrace. No. I mean, and it's not like they don't care. They're playing a very high level of the game, and certainly it's evolved. But they seem to just have an attitude that is radically different than the whole concept that you have to hang your head in shame for like the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
you make a mistake in the ball game.
Right. Well, you know how it is, man. Especially when you play ball. You can't let that last mistake, compound to another one. You have to really shake it off. I can't have a drop pass and then, have that in my head and go out and drop another one. Or, baseball, of course, you go to the plate, you strike out. You can't take that to the field. So yeah, I love that. It's like a DB. You see a DB get burned, which we did a lot to those dudes. And then they have to have that short-term memory and let it go. They got to line back up.
Yeah. They also have a long finger pointing in the direction of the safety. It's never their fault.
Never.
Like standing still.
Hey, T-Buck, my boy, I'll tell you a quick story. T-Buck was great at that, man. T-Buck, my boy, man, but he was great at, looking on TV. You see on TV, he's pointing to the station like, where you at? And then on Monday, he's like, yeah, my bad. Yo, you're right. But on TV, you think the safety was out of position, you know what I mean?
Terrell Buckley, he was great at deflecting whatever blame there was for getting torched there, like Elvis Patterson. OJ McDuffie, our guest here on the Defo Show, Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubitz. I was thinking, too, when you were speaking about McDaniel, that there was an element of ruthlessness and that was common with coaches that seemed very approachable. And, even in some cases, I don't know. I mean, Jimmy Johnson would establish right away, like he would cut a guy for falling asleep that he knew he didn't need. But it kind of established that approach that, like, hey, listen, my way or the highway. And, and Shula had that too. I mean, Shula wasn't immune to, just cutting a guy brutally in mid-season and, offering like an explanation. But nonetheless, you knew that he just got pissed off and said, this guy's out of here. Is that necessary? Because that was a common denominator. I mean, when you were playing sports, certainly, when I was involved in any kind of team thing, I mean, usually the coach was, known for having an element of ruthlessness that led to the idea that you were going to, fall in the line no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but honestly, I don't know what's going to happen when Mike has to lay the hammer down, because at some point you have to. Guys are going to make some mistakes. Somebody's going to get in a little bit of trouble, hopefully not a lot of trouble, and he's got to make some tough decisions, and so there's got to be an element of it. You got to establish yourself at some point as the man, and so I don't know. I mean, I'd hate to be that sacrificial lamb, though, that first guy that he goes after, man. It's going to be interesting because, honestly, you've seen some guys that try to get there as coaches, and they try to be tough, and people look at him like, yeah, whatever, Yeah. So I hope that, he's got that kind of, street cred with these guys where they respect whatever he says. And if he has to get angry, I hope they look at it like, all right, coach says we must have really messed up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, OJ, you said something interesting, and I want to take it out to something else, but you said McDaniel knows he has to treat every player different. Not every coach knows that, and we talked with Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy said that. He said, look, you couldn't treat Michael, Emmett, Charles, Haley, and Troy, and those are all four guys that are all in the Hall of Fame right now. Four guys, he had to treat them all differently. Even then, he knew that. Don Shula was supposedly the same way. Lawrence Taylor jokes about Bill Parcells, the mighty Bill Parcells, knew to leave him alone. So even Bill Parcells knew that. So it's interesting that Mike McDaniel knows that. He's already treated Tua very different than Brian Flores has. Tyreek Hill has treated Tua very different than any receiver last year. You were a receiver. You didn't have to. Dan Marino was the GOAT. He didn't need to be bigged up, and I get that. What are your idea of these thoughts? Because people are really overreacting to me about what Tyreek Hill's saying. It's like when Rasheed Wallace, guarantees they're going to win. Duh. What do you think Rasheed Wallace is going to say about his team? Like Tyreek Hill never has said Tua's better than Mahomes. He's just trying, you would think, to uplift his quarterback who will help him make his $200-something million. What are your thoughts as a former receiver when you see a new receiver, commending his quarterback he has really yet to play with?
I'm going to tell you what, if Tyreek wants to rock, that's the best thing to do, right? I mean, I'm not going to come in here as a new receiver and bash my quarterback right away, and then I don't get the opportunities, No, I think, honestly, Tua actually talked about it on our podcast about how his tough upbringing was tough, from his dad to his high school coach to obviously Nick Saban to his time here, so he's had that upbringing where every single coach was really tough on him. And he said he's tough on himself as well. He said Mike McDaniel's a different animal when it comes to that. He's more uplifting and upbeat about mistakes at times than anybody else. And I think Tyreek is from that same school. And I don't know, how they do it and how they did it in Kansas City with Eric Reed and Mahomes and those guys. But maybe that's just Tyreek's personality, man. And honestly, his whole energy out there has been unbelievable for everybody, not just Tua. If you've been out to any of those practices or, the mini camp that I was out at, his attitude is great with everybody.
Nice.
So, he knows where the most important person is to uplift. And that's at the quarterback position, man. So, maybe he's got a degree in psychology as well. But, he sees more throws and catches more balls than Tua than any of us have. So, I'm all in on what he's doing if that's what he truly feels.
Yeah, I don't think an OJ McDuffie would have been inclined to say, hey, you know what, Marino does suck.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean,
you should be throwing a ball at me here, throwing those long loopers that were about 15 yards over your head. All right, how much weight do you give to the story about Sean Payton and Tom Brady? Because a couple of things. I mean, a lot of things could stem from that. And Dave Hyde was on with us. Dave from the Sun Sentinel, OJ. And
oh yeah.
He seemed to believe that this story was very credible. That there was a plan in place for the Dolphins to hire Sean Payton as their coach. There was, the talk that Brady loves Sean Payton, and that they wanted to, maybe get together as coach and quarterback at some point. And this would obviously be, the last opportunity. And that all of that was going to happen. And I'm thinking, well, if that was the case and the Dolphins pivoted to where they are right now, all right, so maybe McDaniel wasn't very much in focus until after Peyton said, hey, I'm going to take a pass on that. And Brady wasn't coming to play quarterback. But, if you had to pivot out of that, I think they did a remarkable job. I mean, they pulled off this Tyreek Hill deal. And we were kind of talking. I was talking with a big Dolphin fan yesterday at our Father's Day thing. And my friend Lee was saying, well, geez, look what they got. They have Tyreek Hill on one side, which is, dangerous enough. And then you have Waddle, who is Tyreek Hill Jr., a mini-me, who's going to blossom, you would think, even more. And you have Gesicki, who can catch and be dangerous as a tight end. You're going to have a big receiver somewhere that has some speed and hopefully a decent pair of hands.
Yeah, Wilson.
And you have more speed at running back than you've had. And, and we're not even talking about the defense. So how is it that the estimations for this team are so low? I see a lot of good things there. And I especially have to respect the fact that at front office, we've been dissing for, the last 20 years, various combinations of general managers and executives. If they had to bail out on plan A, they circled back nicely on plan B, did they not?
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as, plan A, the Sean Payton, Tom Brady thing, I do believe. I believe Dave Hyde. I think Dave Hyde does such a great job. And, Dave Hyde has done that research and done that due diligence. And he says it's extremely credible, but I've got to go with what he's saying right there. And plan B, yeah, Mike McDaniel was on some radars. And I think as a young coach, he had some things that he was working through. But 15 years as an assistant in the NFL, that had him ready for this moment. And I'm sure he just blew him away with, the interview and his talent. And his personality and everything. But his X's and O's, are second to none in the NFL. And you're absolutely right, man. Chris has been criticized. Chris Greer's been criticized so much for a lot of different things. But man, did he pull off, an amazing offseason this year, in my opinion. Getting Tyreek, giving up a couple picks, the money that was spent, was well worth it. I ask people like, look, any of the wide receivers that got drafted this year, are any of them better than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? And none of them are. So, that point right there says that we've got, no matter what we've done to draft, we went wide receiver wise, we've got the best guy probably in the league, and then one of the top, 10 guys, and Waddle coming up in the league at that position. So it was just a great move, man. And not only that, he kept everything for next year for the most part. Yep. And that's even bigger. Yep. The fact that we didn't give up our 2 first-round picks next year, a couple of seconds I think we have next year. We're ready for everything to move forward with this team. And as far as the rest of them not giving us, the props or the attention that we deserve, I like that. I like the fact that people are underestimating what we can do, because nobody can tell me that this team is not 1 or 2 wins better than they were the last couple of years. We were 1 or 2 wins away from making the playoffs the last couple of years. So, I'm cool with all that, man. But I think it's been one of the best off seasons, and we've said this before, how we've won an off season. We've won an off season before, But for some reason, it seems a little different.
Well, I mean, it wasn't across the board. Like, you'd go and get Brandon Marshall or Mike Wallace. They got the best left tackle. They got one of the top 3 guards on the market. They went and got a top 3 receiver, probably the most electric talent in the game, who wasn't even on the market, and they went and overpaid everybody. So they have, we haven't had it. I've never seen a Dolphins off. This is like a Heat off season, like where they get everything they want.
Right.
That's not the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, because Tyreek Hill said another thing that I found interesting. He is, okay, if he's not the best receiver, you throw him with a Devontae Adams. There's like 3 or 4 guys that people could put in the same breath. Cool. He is the most electric talent in the game, yet he came out recently and said he was underutilized in Kansas City. What's interesting is, if anyone can use him the right way, is Mike McDaniel. Deebo Samuel was a guy who was a nice receiver, a nice running back kind of guy that has become that next best guy to Tyreek Hill. What do you take with those comments as a guy who you did everything? Like, you would run the ball, you'd be third down guy, you'd be out wide, you'd do punt returns, you'd do kick returns. When he says something like that, what do you think? Do you think the Dolphins should do more with him as he's this big investment? Or, like, what are your thoughts on that kind of a comment?
I don't want him in the backfield, that's for sure. I don't want him doing that Deebo Samuel, bro. You know what I mean? Hey, let him play wide receiver. I think that's why Deebo said, man, give me some more money, man. You guys are shortening my career. Put me in the backfield running between the tackles, you know? I asked Wes Welker, I said, Wes, could you run between the tackles right now? He said, hell no. You know what I mean? I'm the same way. You know, so I'm a wide receiver, man. That's why I moved to wide receiver, so I didn't have to run between the tackles. I think bottom line is we just got to find a way to get Tyreek enough touches per game. If he doesn't, see at least 15 touches / targets a game, then we're underutilizing him. You know, I mean, it's got to be every series got to be a concerted effort to try to get him the ball a couple times, and some of those are going to turn into home runs, but you have to. And I said this before too, Tyreek's numbers will not be indicative of how much of an impact he's had on our team, because he's going to draw a lot of attention. Yeah. But other guys, Waddle, Gesicki, Wilson, the run game could all benefit from having Tyreek number 10 on the field.
Wow. I mean, I just had an epiphany, OJ. What if by some miracle we actually this year with the Miami Dolphins had an offensive line that could block for the run and for the pass? Oh, my God.
I know, God forbid.
About this, it seems like going back to Kuchenberg and the boys. I mean, it's been a while.
Oh, man.
It's been a
while. All right, are the transcripts available of the McDaniel conversation? Because I think you could probably put it in some of my college philosophy textbooks and pass it off. I mean, I was saying earlier, OJ, we didn't know if you were listening to Ray Nitschke or Nietzsche, when he was on the show. So that was great. And we're hoping it works, man. I mean, the other thing, Mike Westhoff, our good friend Mike Westhoff, and I know you're a big fan of Mike's, and he's a huge fan and admirer of yours. In fact, you were part of his book that he has out called Figure It Out. I know you were involved, with some of the interviews and storytelling and that. But he said that the Dolphins are fast as hell.
Yeah.
And that was something, else that, kind of stuck with me, because I'm thinking, if this guy McDaniel has this innovative kind of Bill Walsh extrapolation that also involves the running game and, and these offensive weapons obviously fit, the puzzle very, very well. It could be very interesting to see a team just outspeed other teams, especially where, for so many years, we've just, not that you become a finesse team, but just been getting overwhelmed by the opposition. And now, that they actually have what should be just a live attack offensive, cachet of weapons there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look up the upgrade in speed. I mean, it's critical. And I think what we don't understand too, is we don't talk about a lot, is that, some people have, that our offensive line is really athletic. And I think they're going to be put in a position where they can use their athleticism and speed more than try to overpower people at times. And that could benefit them as well. So the speed is all over the board, especially when it comes to that offense. So it's gotten really, really fast, And so I think for the most part, you look at that backfield and you look at Tyreek and you look at Waddle, I think those guys were the top, miles per hour guys, in the league last year, like top 5 or 6, right? But now we just got to get them in open space, let's be able to utilize it, so that's going to be the key. Now, you talk about being able to run the ball. We can run the ball, and they have to bring somebody down the box. You got the one-on-ones on the outside. That could be very, very interesting.
Yep.
You know, or if they want to play the coverage and we can run the ball, then we can run the ball, and we want to, you know, make a concerted effort to do so. So if they can get it done up front, like we always talk about, then, man, who knows what we can do as an offense.
Just curious if this was ever offered to you in any kind of promotional thing or charitable effort. You know, because I was a big fan of when, like, a football player would race against a thoroughbred racehorse. And you know, Bullet Bob Hayes did it, and I think he might have beat the horse. Henry Carr was a sprinter who played in the NFL with the New York Giants, and I would imagine maybe some other teams. Skeets Nehemiah, who, wow, where did he get his hands from? Skeets Nehemiah. Was that the worst?
Man, I don't know. For Roberto Duran. You got to put Roberto Duran.
Get some stone. Yeah, honest to Pietro, I mean. We had, who was that tight end that we had? It wasn't Pruitt. I mean, who was the guy that? I mean, he would get wide open. Oh, Farrell Edmonds.
What, Farrell Edmonds?
When you were around when Farrell Edmonds was around, he had those hands also. But
no. Yeah, he's got 3 first-round sons in the league, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he looked like Jerry Rice compared to Skeets, who was awful. But did you ever get the offer to run against a racehorse in your career?
Hell no. I got to go against turtles, man, and tortoises. I got to go against the tortoise, man. You know? That's one I can win, Defo. That's one I can win right there.
Yeah, I would take you at any price against the turtle. It's a pleasure, man. I mean, people should. How can people? You know, I would imagine his podcast is available if you're curious about McDaniel, which everybody is, and I think even more so after watching this interview and listening to it, the one that you did on the podcast. Can people find that somewhere?
Of course.
Yeah, all podcast networks. Everywhere you look at your podcast, we're at the Fish Tank. Dolphin Tales from the Deep. So it's a lot of fun, man. And I'll tell you, being on the Dolphin Network, man, it's given us a lot more exposure, and being able to get Coach and Tua, Jalen Phillips, and those guys on, man. It was some great interviews, and it's been a lot of Big Seth, man. You got to give props to my boy Big Seth Levitt, man. He's been grinding it for us, man. It's been working out really well.
No, this guy, I mean, you know, everything he touches turns to gold, this Seth Levitt. It's absolutely fantastic. And you are gold, OJ McDuffie.
Yes,
always
sir.
A pleasure, my friend. Great stuff. And
appreciate you guys, man.
We love you,
Thanks so much for being with us.
Talk soon, fellas.
Happy Father's Day, man.
All right. OJ McDuffie, man.
Big thank you to Juice himself, OJ McDuffie, again, the host of the Fish Tank podcast. Seth Levitt, I think kid Travis Winfield, I don't want to say a kid, but Travis Wingfield, I think, is involved. They have a nice group there that do the Fish Tank podcast, so check that out. It's very Dolphins-oriented. Of course, we have great Dolphins content right here. 3 yards per carry, a bunch of other great things here on the 5 Reasons Sports. Then we're going to come to the Dolphins. I know people are very heat-focused, but the Dolphins have done a lot this offseason to try and get your attention, to try and prove that they're turning things around. I'm excited. If you've heard anything, I'm firmly behind Tua. It's interesting. Juice sounds like he's behind Tua. Tyreek Hill has tried everything he can to make you believe he's behind Tua. He believes in Tua. And the Miami Dolphins have done everything to show that they're going to give Tua a legit shot this year to become one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. OJ McDuffie was very high on Mike McDaniel, as we have been as well. The guy is a breath of fresh air. The guy is very different. The guy is a brainiac, but he's also one that's able to identify with the players identify with him. So far, so good. We shall see what it means going forward. We will, I'm sure, talk with OJ McDuffie quite often as the season approaches and during the season. We also will talk a lot more Miami Dolphins, a lot more NFL tomorrow morning. So just check us out, South Florida Live. You Google the Defo Show with Lubie. YouTube, search the Defo Show with Lubie. Also check us out on the Facebook, South Florida Live at SoFly Live. Also, Facebook, The Defo Show with Lubie, to watch the show each and every morning live, 7 to 9. Also, our exclusive content podcast on the Believe Network. We talk NBA old and new with Ray Scott, former Detroit Pistons head coach, played in the ABA a long time. Did play alongside Dr. J. Ray Scott was a very interesting conversation. BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And each and every day right here, your South Florida content. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park.
Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.